Thanks for joining Digital Dialogue. Look for more episodes at noon Eastern Time on the first and third Tuesday of every month. Can't join the live session? You can watch the replay anytime on our YouTube channel.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Digital Dialogue titled Retooling People for the AI Revolution. I'm your host, 𝗘𝗏𝗍𝗔, founder and CEO of 𝗘𝗏𝗍𝗔, a customer experience optimization expert and a true believer in turning those moments of truth with customers from zero moments to hero moments. And I'm also a fellow for the Institute for Digital Transformation. And with me today are three thought leaders, amazing individuals in the tech world, here to share their thoughts and viewpoints on this topic as well. So let me introduce our guests one by one. First off is Jennifer Ferrara, joining us from Gig Harbor in Washington State. Jennifer is a senior director at the Global Center for AI at Avanade and a leader in AI responsible for Avanade's Global Center for AI. She oversees all aspects of AI across the business, from internal transformation to client services worldwide. She joined Avanade in 2012, starting in their mergers and acquisitions team. And over the past decade, Jen has led the launch of their advisory and design thinking practices, leading their global automation business, and most recently, holding the role of global enterprise strategy lead for Avanade from 2020 to 2023. Jennifer has a bachelor's degree from the University of Southern California, studying abroad in New Zealand, and a master's of business administration from the University of Washington. She lives in Gig Harbor near Seattle with her husband and 3 children. Welcome, Jennifer. You are on mute, my dear. Oops. I can hear you, but very, very low. Maybe raise the volume just a little bit. Okay. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Much better. Great. Thank you so much. Excellent. And next we have Hans Gillior, who is joining us from Stockholm, Sweden. And he is also a fellow of the Institute for Digital Transformation. Hans has extensive experience in digital transformation as a line manager, advisor, and consultant. He works as a management consultant at B3 Business Transformation and helps advise organizations and the CXOs on how to grow and compete in the digital era. Welcome, Hans.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
Good to have you. And last but certainly not least, we have 𝗖𝗄 joining us from Orlando, Florida. Look how excited he is. 𝗖𝗄 is the founder and CEO of 𝗚multiply AI, and he is a 4-time CEO with a passion for technology and mentoring, who drinks and eats, usually it's eats and drinks, but drinks and eats AI tech. 𝗖𝗄 has always been a mentor by heart, from his early days as an F-16 pilot and a flight instructor at the Air Force Academy, all the way to his current days where he mentors CEOs and other business leaders. As an experienced CEO, investor, and board member, 𝗖𝗄 has a holistic approach to business. He helps businesses implement AI using a strategic approach. 𝗖𝗄 aims to empower businesses and individuals to maximize their potential through AI-infused strategies, systems, and processes, and produce a positive business impact. 𝗖𝗄 is a successful podcaster for over 4 years, and I believe it's called Leveraging AI and Business Growth Accelerator. Those are among the podcasts. And he loves traveling with his family and playing soccer and pickleball. Welcome, 𝗖𝗄.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
Excellent. Well, now that we've got the sound check live, I know this is going to be a very collaborative dialogue. And I encourage you as participants who are on board with us to also share comments and questions in the chat session. I will pause and do my best to integrate them into the dialogue and leave some time even at the end for more Q&A if possible. So this will be an enlightening digital dialogue, and let's get started. All right, our opening question. AI is on everybody's mind. It's the topic of the day. There's no conference you go to where we're not talking about AI in some shape or form, and I've lost count of different topics and different flavors of AI. But AI is also often viewed with a mix of excitement and apprehension by employees. From your perspective, and I'll start with you, Jennifer, what is the biggest misconception employees have about AI in the workplace itself? And how can leaders address these fears?
So the question I think that we hear over and over again is there's a mix of fear and then there's a mix of optimism. So we have a lot of our employees that fear for their jobs and if AI is just going to come in and take over. And I'm really excited to have this conversation today just to ease those fears and to help people really see AI as a tool. On the other hand, though, we do have a number of people that expect AI just to work perfectly and flawlessly when they use it. And so one of the areas that we spend a lot of time on is, again, recognizing it's a tool and it's not something that you can just turn on and walk away from, but how do you engage with AI in your day-to-day?
That's very interesting. And you said over-optimism. What do you mean by over-optimism? Is they think that it's going to do everything and they'll just sit back and relax and not really have to work?
Exactly. So thinking that it will just go ahead and do everything and that you could walk away from it. And that's not something that we teach as a responsible user for AI.
Makes sense. Hans, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
I must say that I very much agree with Jennifer about this, about the over-optimism, because I see that many see the AI technology as something that will solve most of our problems in one way or another. And obviously, technology is important, but I think that the main problems we see in workplaces are solvable by people. And most of the problem we have is due to poor leadership or governance issues, high friction and complexity in organization. And I don't think the AI is a substitute for that. So you need to, as Jennifer said, that you need to have a sound view about what AI can do and so on. Also, there's a hype, I think at the moment. The Swedish research company went out, I think a few weeks ago, saying that there's a little bit loss of interest when it comes to AI. And I think that is mainly because of this over-optimism and that it's important for companies and leaders to show the business benefits, what's in it for me as an employer and the company. Mm-hmm. And what can actually do, how can it improve our lives in some way? So I think there's a lot of communication needed to set the right expectation of what AI does and how it can be used.
Lots of misconceptions and perhaps limited real world experiences. And so I can understand the anxiety and the over-optimism depending on where you are on that spectrum. Isar, what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, both my esteemed colleagues here said that at the end of the day, it's a people's issue, right? It's a lot of people look at the AI revolution as a technological change, and it's first and foremost an exercise in change management, right? It's how do you get the people to understand, how do you build the right processes, the right systems, way before you get to the technological side of it. So I agree completely. I think the biggest fear that people have is just fear of the unknown. Right, I've been through an IPO with one company, I've been through an acquisition and merger with another company, and it's always a huge stress to the employees because they don't know what's going to happen. And it's the same thing here, right? It doesn't matter what the cause, it just causes stress and fear because you don't know where this is going to go. And the harder maybe thing than when you go through an acquisition is that most people don't know where it's going to go, including you at the leadership of the company or the biggest names in the world when it comes to AI. They don't exactly know. So we're all trying to learn more and be as educated as possible. So that's on the fear side. On the misconception, I think the biggest misconception people have, as well as businesses have, is that the fact that you know how to play with ChatGPT or Claude or Midjourney or Clay or whatever tools you're using, that you know how to build like a simple use case is the same as applying it in a business context, and it's not the same. There's a very, very big gap between, oh, I can prompt this to do this thing, to now a department or a team or an entire business can use this tool effectively across what the business needs as far as support of its processes. And that's a huge misconceptions that people have, that they do step one, if they figure it out, and some people get stuck even there, but they figure out, oh my God, we're ready to go. And then there's all this overhead and fine tuning and perfection of systems and processes and training and education in order to actually be able to deploy it from a company-wide perspective.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of things in what you're saying. It's the fear factor, but also it's a journey. There's a lot of learning and almost building blocks and adding layers of knowledge and experience over time, because it's not going to happen overnight. It may be simple to prompt some things, but perhaps it's not that simple. It is way more sophisticated than we think it is. So I want to talk about practical strategies for a second, and I'm going to start with you, Hans. What are some of the most effective strategies you've seen for introducing AI to employees in a way that they feel empowered rather than intimidated by this? And can you give me examples of something from a successful initiative that you've seen?
Yeah, thank you. It is difficult because I think that we are on a very starting point of this AI revolution, and it's difficult to grasp what it actually will mean in the long run and so on. But I think it's important to see AI is that it's not only technology, but rather a business transformation enabler in some way. It is something that will change business models and competences and the way we work in companies and organizations, in the same way that internet or smartphones revolutionized many companies and organizations. And I think that if you look back at that, I think those who succeeded with internet, for example, and integrated that, was those who had a clear vision about where they want to go and how they want to use AI or internet. They had clear objectives, they understood the challenges of doing so. And as Isaac said, it very much focused on change management, engaging people in the introduction of these things and showing really what it can do. Obviously, there's a lot of fear in doing that, and I think that we need to have the employees need to feel safety in introduction of AI, and so they are part of that journey in some way. So the AI will work with them and not against them.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And since you named Issar directly, I'd love to hear what he has to say about practical strategies he's seen, since he's in a lot of different outfits.
Yes, I will address this in two different aspects. The first one, because you talk about practical strategies, which to me it's two separate things. There's the practical side and there's the strategy side, and I do think it's important to address both. So when I work with businesses, both businesses who take my courses as well as people I do consulting with, we always address these two things. So on one hand, on the strategy side, from a leadership perspective, you have to start asking yourself, how will this impact my industry, my niche, my business, my ecosystem? And it will dramatically, meaning some of the things you're selling right now, whether it's product or services, may or may not be required 2 years from now.
True.
And that might be the most dramatic shift in your industry in 50 years. And so the first question you have to ask on the quote unquote negative side is, how will this potentially negatively impact my industry? We can give multiple examples. I'll give two from two very separate examples. One is law firms. If you're a law firm, most of the money you make is from billable hours. Certain percentage of that is from paralegals. That will most likely go away or get a serious hit. 20-30% of your revenue may disappear 2 years from now, where people will understand that there's no reason to pay for 50 hours of paralegal when that work can be done in 35 minutes. And so if you're going to lose 20% of your income 3 years from now, it's something you need to start planning for, because that pays for your fancy offices downtown. No offense to any law firms. Let's take a different example. Code development, right? People who write code. That's going to be dramatically accelerated. We can already today, I never written a line of code in my life, and now I write simple software using different AI tools. So if you're a software company, one of two things will happen. Either you will develop a lot more software, meaning you have flexible demand and you can develop a lot more than you're currently developing, or you will need a lot less people. Or you will make less money. Like there's different ways to skin that cat. But from a strategic perspective, your business is going to change. And the same is true for, I wouldn't say all, but most businesses. So you got to think on that. The flip side of that, the positive side, is it will open opportunities that don't exist today. It will allow you to serve audiences you cannot serve today because the ROI is not there. But now you'll be able to address that, meaning you will have opportunities to offer new products, new services to new clients that you just cannot do right now because you don't have the capacity, the bandwidth, or the ROI is just not there. And all these things will be different. And if you start planning for that now, you can start benefiting from it. So that's on the strategic side.
Mm-hmm.
On the practical side, it's first and foremost about education, and it has to be continuous education, meaning, yes, I think you need to start with workshops. Like one of the things that I love the most is coming into companies for 2 or 3 days and doing a hands-on detailed workshop the first day and then a hackathon the second day once people have some skills. And then you get a really good start. You build momentum. People understand where this is going to go. They end up with practical use cases that actually are either already working or a good start. So it builds great momentum within employees and leadership and so on. But that's a great starting point. So I always tell everybody, find somebody you can bring in external that can help you get that start. But then you got to build a AI committee, and we can talk about that later on what else the committee needs to do. But one of the roles of the committee is to take care of ongoing education of leadership and employees, because this thing is not stopping. Whatever you're going to learn today might be completely outdated in the end of Q4, which is in 2.5 months. So you have to have a process and the right people in the company to continuously monitor what's happening and deliver that to everybody else and build a culture of continuous change, because that will allow you to benefit from this amazing capability.
Well, I feel like we just had a mini masterclass on how to do this, on strategy and execution. So thank you for that. Jen, I wanted to give you the floor to see if you can help us with some examples as well.
Examples come to mind. So the first was, and it was a bit of a lesson learned. When we started to roll out AI across our organization, we started with individuals. And I say we're talking about individuals versus departments. And we quickly switched to enabling departments together. And we saw a huge change in impact because coworkers were able to share their uses, how they were using AI, how they were building on it, and become champions themselves. In fact, our legal department, they actually were very excited about using AI to help them, probably because they felt overworked with all the other work. So it was a tool that they engaged in. Now they're champions talking to other departments around why and how they use AI. And so really focusing on departments and enabling them first versus individuals was one of the strategies. The other thing we did was we made it fun. So again, talking about kind of the training and the people first aspect, we launched what was called our School of AI, and it was for every one of our employees. And we focused on just a basic foundation of what is AI, what isn't it, and a little bit just of a baseline around what AI and Gen AI is all about. The second area we focus on responsible AI. We don't want to do anything around AI without the responsible AI angle. And then prompt design and prompt engineering. That was a key area, where a key skill that we focused on, and we made it accessible. So rather than having to be a coder or have a certain persona and look at the technology, we used a scenario of plan a birthday party and use prompting to get that. And so that made it fun and excitable. And we had our employees all reaching out saying this is one of the best trainings that they had in their career at Alpha.
Well, that sounds like it was definitely fun. I would have liked to have participated in something like that. So many great use cases have been shared. And by the way, there is a question that came across about ethical AI issues. And I feel like you kind of touched on that, Jennifer, was part of the training that you had. Do you want to give us a little bit more on what you do in general at Avanade for that?
Yeah, we have been looking at what I would call digital ethics for a number of years. And when AI came to the scene, we brought together a task force to look at responsible AI. And we look at it beyond just the governance, the data governance, the security issues. We look at how are we using AI for the right reasons? Are we being transparent about it? Are we, we've got a diverse group of stakeholders that's looking at the funding and the use cases and how we build it to mitigate bias. And in particular now with AI regulations like the EU AI Act that just came out, this is becoming even more apparent. So we're talking to our C-suite actually this week all about what we need to do to stay ahead of our responsible AI. We've put a lot of investment and focus on it until now, but we think there needs to be more. And that's something we talk to our clients about as well, which is one of the first things to do is ensure you've got the right AI governance. I think someone might have said council or committee, but those principles and your policies and everything there so that when you are using AI, you could go back to those policies and ensure that you are meeting the requirements as well as really bringing your core values into responsible AI.
Yeah, you definitely have to have guardrails with something like this. Otherwise, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I don't think enough people really know where the you can, but you shouldn't sits unless you have it formalized. So let's twist this a little bit and focus now more on the AI competency and the piece that we really want to talk about, which is upskilling. What do you feel are core competencies that organizations should focus on to build their workforce and ensure that there is that long-term success view with AI-powered future in mind? I'll start with you, Asar. I know you had a lot of thoughts about this when we were chatting before. Share.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great question, right? I think it's one of the biggest questions that companies have. Like, how do we get started, but then how do we build like a process for the long term that would lead us through there? And we touched a little bit on the AI committee, and I want to dive a little deeper on that because it holds keys to a few of the things that our organization needs to do. The idea of a committee is to bring in voices from different parts of the company. So the goal is to have at least one person from each department, somebody from sales, marketing, HR, finance, legal, etc. The reason to do that the reasons to do that are, one, you get the inputs and the needs from different aspects of the business. Usually in most companies that I work with, the first people that dive right in is marketing people, and after that salespeople, and slowly after that everybody else. And then you're missing out on being able to provide value in other places, and you may put in place systems and processes that are not going to be helpful for other people. So one thing is input from multiple aspects of the business. The other reason to do this is you get a champion in each department, what Jennifer talked about. Like, you want to have somebody who's committed and excited and knows what's happening, that can drive that excitement and the knowledge into their business unit, their department, and so on. The third reason is just brainstorming. Like, you have people with different skills, and usually people from HR has very different skills than people from marketing that have very different skills from people who write code. So if you bring them together from a brainstorming perspective to think about ideas, whether it's technological ideas, into implementation ideas, education ideas, making it fun ideas, whatever the case may be, you just get more ideas. So the conversation is better. The other thing that I said, as far as people in the committee, you need at least one person from leadership, because you don't want to then, every time you have an idea, go and report it to leadership to get their approval. You want this to be a very actionable kind of like group of people. So you need one person from leadership, preferably the CEO, but it doesn't have to be. And you want to bring in the geeks, like the people who are excited already, that started playing with it, that will not sleep and go and play with a new toy that comes out between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. like me, because you're going to gain faster benefits when you bring these people into the committee. So that's kind of like the structure of the committee. But what the committee needs to do, the first thing is what Jennifer already talked about, which is put in place document or documents that explain the guardrails, the do's and the don'ts, both from an ethical perspective, from a data risk perspective, from a business flow perspective, like whatever the case may be, define the guidelines. And then, as I mentioned before, be in charge of evaluating new tools, defining processes, defining systems, procuring them, testing them out, and defining training programs and continuous education for everybody in the company. So that's one aspect of it from the committee perspective, and how do you lead AI change in your business. The two other things that I will say, and I will say them much shorter than what I said so far, is flexibility. And I mean flexibility from two different aspects. Aspect number one is organizational structure. Like companies do reorgs every now and then, and it's usually a big pain, where, and it takes 6 months to do, and then you wait another 6 months for the dust to settle, and then you run this way for a few years. And I think this concept will go away. We'll have to be able to adapt and change from an organizational perspective much faster. And the other is tech, right? You cannot say, oh, let's buy a 5-year license for this software or tool or whatever, because these things change so fast that whatever is the best implementation right now may not be the best implementation next week. Now, an organization cannot work that fast, but you at least need the flexibility to be able to pull out ChatGPT and plug in Gemini when there's a new model that does better for what you need. And the same thing across multiple aspects of the business. So I think designing your future business with flexibility in both org chart as well as technological stack is a huge benefit that any company that can figure out now can benefit a lot more from AI in the future.
Wow, that is a very, very comprehensive answer. And I'm just going to summarize some of the things I thought I heard there. There's a spirit of curiosity, exploration, not afraid to fail, having sufficient tools, having reasonable expectations around time frame and interchangeable tools. Is that the gist of what you were saying, pretty much? Excellent.
Great summary.
Thank you. And without ChatGPT for this one either. I've just been listening closely. Jennifer, same question. Building AI competencies, what do you feel would help with long-term success and that AI-powered future?
In the prompt design, and we still think that that's one of the biggest skills, because that's where we'll see the increased usage. We joke around that some of our leaders who were the geeks probably staying up at 2 a.m. Playing around with AI when they first got Copilot. They started using Copilot to build out emails and to send that to teams because they said, this is a great tool. But in fact, people weren't reading their emails because they were coming across as long-winded and boring. So being able to use the right prompts to get the right outputs that you want is key. So that's an area we're focusing on quite a bit right now. I'm going to push and say beyond like the technology and the AI pieces, as we think ahead around where people are going to need to fill in gaps because they're using AI for other tasks, we're really focusing on social and emotional and collaborative skills. So how now that people are going to be able to use technology for other purposes that maybe were taking up multiple hours of their workday, what are they going to do? And they're going to need that human element. And so those leadership skills and those social skills are even more important, I think, in the future.
That's a really good point. So emotional intelligence might make it up on the list, and even leadership skills and conflict resolution and working collaboratively and presenting and learning how to actually engage fully. I would imagine that's going to become more and more. I'm with you on that. Hans, we didn't hear from you on this one, so you tell.
Most of the good thoughts have been said already, but I think it's a known fact that since the year 2000, I think it's 50% of the Fortune 500 companies has more or less disappeared in some way. And mainly because they could not keep up with the speed of digitalization. And I also think that the leadership had an overbelief in traditional business model or business theories about how companies and organization works. And at the Institute, we've been talking a lot about this, that leaders need to somehow reimagine business models and how things work for the digital era in some way. So it's about maybe not so much about command control, leadership, and style, and how traditional businesses work, but mainly, as we talked about before, faster steering, faster governance, more focused on innovation, collaboration, innovation, and also to look at other business models, because the business model will be challenged by AI and digitalization in some way. So you need to have, I would say, leaders need to have another mindset about how they view the organization and business. How do they create value to the customer? It will always change very rapidly. So yes, new competence in that area, but also a completely new mindset in that.
Well, you're touching on a shift in mindset and a shift in culture.
Yes.
And in my definition, I'd heard this years and years ago, decades ago, culture is the behavior that senior leaders either display or tolerate. So if leaders are leading by embracing, showing a spirit of curiosity, a tolerance for experimentation, and not so much wasting time, but exploring and potentially failing, but getting back on and doing it again and trying different things, then you should see that as pervasive in the institution. So I'm going to ask you, Hans, again, since you led with this, what cultural changes within organizations are necessary to make AI adoption smooth and accepted by the employees across all the levels? And how do you see leaders fostering this shift? And can they really enhance human collaboration within teams and encourage that synergy rather than having them fear this?
Yeah, I had two perspectives on that question. The first one is that I think that many employers are scared and stressed about AI and that they will be replaced by this new technology. And a natural response to threat and to change is like meeting a bear in the forest. We somehow
Run away.
sorry?
You don't make friends with a bear, you run away, right?
You run away. I mean, it's trigger the same hormones in your body meeting a bear in the forest, and it actually triggers three alternatives. Either you fight it, you flee, or you play dead, more or less. And that's how you
Freeze,
respond to change. And I think that what's important for management is actually to de-dramatize the AI and make people involved in the AI, as Isaac and Jennifer talked about earlier, that we need to be part of that and see that it is not dangerous at all. It is something that we can live with in that sense. Another aspect that I want to highlight is that since 1995, approximately, when internet sort of took off in many organizations, the amount of information available for employees has increased 5 times in many organizations. And that has very much a negative impact on, for example, cognitive skills of employees, meaning they have difficulties to see patterns or analyze or see the big picture of things, how things actually work. And that has meant mainly to more processes and more instructions for individuals, how they should work, and maybe in some way more command and control in some way. And I think that when we use AI, I think one of the things that we need to focus on is actually how to reduce information or to single out the most valuable information for employees, so that we can actually get back the cognitive capabilities of many employees. So those are two things: the biological aspect, but also the information aspect of that.
Wow, that is something that's going to keep me thinking all night. I'm definitely going to be contemplating this. And I just want to hear from you, Asar, on this same topic, the culture aspect. What do you think?
I want to jump back to the thing that Jennifer said a second ago, because I think, no, not to the bear. Thank you. I'll avoid the bear for now. But what Jennifer said before about the human aspect of this, and add something to it. When I talk to a lot of businesses, I tell them at the end of the day, I'll start with something else. There's ample research right now that's showing that AI is actually helping people on the bottom of the skill level to be significantly better. So if you're at the bottom of the skill level, it's going to help you increase your productivity by 100%. If you're on the top of the skill level, it's going to help you increase your productivity by 20%, right? So what it does, it really closes the gaps between the bottom performers and the top performers, the gap is going to be significantly smaller.
That's
If
an
you
interesting
aggregate
perspective.
that to the company level, it means the difference between companies as far as their ability to deliver and compete is going to shrink, because everybody will be able to do the day-to-day and most stuff. It will become vanilla. Everybody will be able to do it. So what will be able to tell you apart? Human relationships within your organization to be able to work better and collaborate better, human relationships with your ecosystem to be able to get better pricing, faster deliverables, better collaboration, and so on, and better relationships with your clients and prospects, because that will, purely based on relationship, you will win the business because everybody will be able to do the job pretty damn well. So I agree with her 100% as far as that. As far as culture, I think there's two things that come to mind that play a very big role. One is lead by example. Like if the leadership team are not on board and they're not excited and they're not showing that it's important to them and they're not participating and they're not talking about this in every all hands and they're not doing these things, it will be very, very hard for organizations to move forward. And I have clients from both options, like clients where the CEO or the leaders are highly engaged and want to move forward and pushing hard, and you see very quick response from the company. And there's companies where the CEO wants it to happen, like he delegates that to other people and like, well, it's not important to the CEO, then we'll do this, but we have day jobs to do and we get compensated on other stuff. So, it will happen when it happens, kind of thing. And the speed and the seriousness and the results are very, very different. So that's one thing on culture. The other thing on how to change that culture is quick wins and celebrating wins, right? If you can, as the leadership, and you could be a leader of the department, it doesn't have to be on the company level, and say, let's build this thing, let's make it work. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It needs to be quick and efficient and save you X number of hours a week. And then celebrate that. Go show all the other employees, go show your leadership, go show whoever it is, like, look, we've done this. It took us a week. Now we're saving 5 hours a week for 2 employees that we have. So we're saving 10 hours a week after a week of investment. And we think we can do this for 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is how you drive excitement from not conceptual speaking, and you eliminate fear by showing, yes, this is actually helping us do our day-to-day work, and we're delivering the same quality or better quality, faster, cheaper, whatever the case may be. So these are two ways to address it. One is through leading by example, and the other is through finding quick wins and sharing it with the rest of the organization.
So it's fascinating what you first said, not addressing the question directly, around the lower echelon of I want to say this appropriately, of workers in the workforce and how they will benefit significantly. And I think you're spot on with that, because perhaps they didn't have access to the training or even the education initially, but now they've got the genie at their fingertips. So that will accelerate their coming up to speed. But then as you were talking about the culture, it almost feels like we have to organizationally build momentum within the company by becoming childlike with our desire to figure this thing out. It's like a new toy that we're all like, ooh, 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 what does it do now? Oh, can it do this? Oh, I wonder if it could do that, right? And allowing people to try things in ways that you never thought, and that sound very bizarre, but saying, oh, well, we learned from that. That was a really good, bad idea. As I say that to my team all the time, and not shunning them for trying. So Jennifer, what are your thoughts on these cultural changes that need to happen? Do you agree with both Hans and Isar? Do you have a different view, or you're just more details on that?
I agree with what's been said. I'll actually go back to the bear, and that I think
I
the
love
more
the bear,
that
Hans.
we can demystify the bear. We actually are starting to turn, let's take that analogy to the bear now becomes a teddy bear and everyone wants one. And so as we've started to let people experiment and play with AI and figure out how it works for them, we're running into a certain transparency we need to develop in our culture to ensure people understand why they have access, and if they don't have access, is that going to impact them or is that not going to impact them accordingly? And so we're starting to build that culture around just transparency, around experimentation and fun, being very honest around the rollout path on how we're taking AI to our employees. And that's been really important. From the top down, I do think leaders have to show it from the top. And one of the things we're also doing is focusing on use cases now that aren't just about productivity gains and, one small use case here, one small use case there, but what are the use cases that tie back to our company values and our company culture? Because employees ultimately picked our company for those values. And so making sure that those tie back to the use cases that we're driving and accelerating with AI are critical. So agree with everything that was said. And I think it actually, culture is an area where you've got to make sure that it's built into your AI strategy.
Yeah.
I love that. Did anybody want to comment on that, or?
No, I'm happy that the bear comes back in that discussion.
The bear is back.
Yes, I'm very happy with that.
Listen, don't go be hugging bears out in the wild, all right? She's talking about a teddy bear.
Yes.
It's demystified. It's much smaller now, right? But I think she's spot on with that. It's taking something that on the surface feels very foreign, and as you approach it, you get to know it, you've embraced it, you've tried it out, it's not harmful, you're getting warmer and fuzzier with the moment. So it's a warm, fuzzy bear. Okay, so we're going to keep going with the bear thing. But, that's like an aha moment. At some point, somebody is going to have that aha moment while using it. And I'm going to start by sharing just my experience with using the Genie, the Gen AI Genie. I remember being curious as to how it could help me write better. And I wanted to know how it can truncate certain things, be less wordy, get to the point. So I felt like I kind of hired my own coach, and it was giving me very, very pointed instructions. So that was one way. At one point, and we were just talking about this in the back room, I was on a journey to learn how to make sourdough. I could not get the damn starter to work. And I didn't know that there were certain nuances with the temperature of the water, the quality of the flour, the way you have it seated, and the temperature in the room. There were so many little tweaks that I had to learn, and I didn't have access to experts. I actually got coached through chatting with ChatGPT. So there was a really, really good learning experience. And then there are probably 100 other use cases I threw at it. I grew with time with more excitement. And I had many, many aha moments, even with my new venture with Norvana. Lots of new learnings that I got through ChatGPT and through AI use cases that I applied out of curiosity and learning the power of this. So my aha moment is I've just harnessed the power of a genie, and that genie does not need to be fed. It's up all day, all night. It's polite. It makes mistakes sometimes because it doesn't understand me, or I'm not clear, or it just has limitations. But oh my God, it's just amazing that it's not capping me at 3 wishes. So that was my aha moment. And I wanted to hear, what are some of the aha moments you have? And then we have a question we need to get to in a second. But Jennifer, let's start with you. Any aha moments?
I love your examples, because when you actually see it come to work it for you and you get the value out of it, it's so amazing. So the aha moment for me was just the adoption rate and how it still takes a number of weeks of experimentation and curiosity to finally unlock that power. And so even our top users, it took them probably putting sticky notes on their computers to remind themselves to go and try AI. And so we've just got to make sure that the aha moment for me was, this isn't something that you take one training and then people are off to the races. It is continual reminders. You almost need an AI co-pilot to come chase you to remind you to use it. But then you'll see those really powerful unlocked examples of value when you actually start to become that power user yourself.
Fascinating. Absolutely agree with that. I know, Hans, you've got some aha moments, or at least one.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it the bear?
I was sitting. It was so funny. I was sitting in this coffee shop with some friends, and they showed me a new AI tool that they had built, and they with a click of a key, they could develop a business strategy for any company with access to different data sources, information sources, and it took a few minutes, and they had a complete business strategy about what they should prioritize and what they should do, and all the financials and everything else. And I was blown away by the power of doing things so quickly, and I would say quite accurate as well. And just it would take weeks or months to do that kind of work manually in some way, and you started to see there's huge potential for manager of accessing data and analyzing data in a completely different way. I remember working for a bank a couple of years ago. It took 4 weeks to ask a question about a financial statement or some question inquiry there. Now we can do it in 3 minutes or 1 minute, and I think it's gonna change the way we work. We can speed up decision making. We can speed up everything in the organization and get more accurate analysis and reports and so on. Really interesting. I could talk for that forever, but I'll stop there.
No, you're right, because it's almost like you've hired the world's experts from every possible company, every possible culture, every part of the world, and they're all available to you all the time. So to your point, Jennifer, it's around how do you ask the question, and if you don't get the answer in the way you want, you just have to keep tweaking it and going at it until you've learned the way to address that question or pose it in the words that will get you what you want. And you can give it feedback, and it'll learn with you, and it'll understand your style over time. So aha moments. One last one, Asar.
Wow. I think I have aha moments about AI every single day. And that leads me to what I want to say about aha moments. You got to follow the right people. Whether you're on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, newsletters, whatever way you want to follow the right people, you want to follow people who are practitioners of AI across multiple aspects and multiple businesses, because then you'll keep on having daily aha moments, like literally every single day. And because people, I'll give you a crazy example, and it is really crazy, but it's an amazing example. I saw a couple of days ago, and I want to bring him on my podcast. So there's going to be a detailed version of this because I'm still blown away. But I saw a guy that takes a bunch of automation tools that I know all of them, like every single component of them. And what he does, he is taking every person that visits his website that is relevant, that is a potential client, gets about 5 minutes after he visited the website, a personalized video, which is actually done with an avatar, but it has the other person's company in the background, his LinkedIn profile, and it's talking about what's unique about them and why they should talk and why this could be a good fit for them to have a conversation. Now, all of that uses 6 or 7 different tools that I know each and every one of them, and I know how they work.
Yeah.
But connecting them together to be able to send a personalized email to every person that is only to people who are potential clients. So it's not like a spray and pray. It actually collects data, analyzes data, defines the right approach to each and every one of them on a personalized level, and then creates a video automatically at scale. And I went like, holy crap. And again, I knew all the different building blocks. I know all the different components, but it's not something I would have thought of on my own. And so following the right people and being genuinely curious can help you find these new aha moments every single day. And most of these people, that's the cool thing about the AI world today, everybody shares. Like everybody tells you how they're doing the magic. It's not the Wizard of Oz. It's the Wizard of Oz after somebody moved the curtain, and you can see how they're actually doing what they're doing. So many, many, many people in the AI community today share how they're doing what they're doing, what tools they're using, what prompts they're using, what automations they're building. And so if you want to get daily aha moments, just follow the right people.
Follow the right people. I think that's really, really great advice. And I'm getting updates that we're almost at time here. So I want to take one question that was posed by the audience. And that question is, how do you overcome the employee mindset that their job could be replaced? And I know we're short on time, so give me the 1-minute version of this. And let's start with you, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Just bring them to the table and let them see what it's all about. When we've given AI to employees and they've actually used it, they don't want it taken away. That said, we just ran some research on multiple thousand people who we've deployed AI out to, and even those who are using AI still fear that certain skills and tasks and potential jobs could be replaced. And so I don't have a crystal ball. I can't confirm whether that's true or not, but I think just being curious and sharing knowledge and being transparent is going to help, at least through that journey.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And Hans, last comments on that?
I think that we go through an evolution of multiple technical leaps, and at every leap, there's a discussion whether I will be replaced or not by new technology and so on. For example, electricity came, it's new, the same sort of discussion. I don't think you will be these jobs will be replaced. I think they will be changed, because at every leap, new doors and new opportunities open. And I don't think we today maybe not can imagine what the new jobs will be, but there will be new jobs, because it will sort of develop into something new. So I would not be afraid in any way, but saying that, well, we probably need to change in some way and look at that in a different way.
So even though we're calling this an AI revolution, we as individuals need to evolve. So it's our evolution that we're after. Excellent. Ithar, final comments?
I think the showing people what's in it for them, that's aspect number one. Like, how can that improve their life and their business and their workload? And the other hand is showing them that they probably should do this, because this will prepare them to the next job, next position, next situation they're going to be in. So both it's going to help them right now, but also learning how to use AI will increase their chances of either keeping their current job or getting their next job. I'll quote somebody who is absolutely brilliant. Her name is 𝗘𝗰cie_𝗂𝗵𝗵𝗵, and she was the chief strategy for Google until about 6 months ago, and now she has her own thing. And she talks about thinking versus thunking. And she's thinking is every time we're thinking, and thunking is all the stuff we're doing when we're not thinking. And what she's claiming is that AI will be able to replace thunking very, very quickly. So if you can figure out what thunking you can hand off to AI, which we all hate doing, it's the overhead of our work, and focus on the stuff we're really good at, where we personally bring value, everybody wins.
I think that's a great way to close, with a win-win strategy. And that brings us to the end of our show. And I do want to thank everyone here, all of our guests. We hope you enjoyed this riveting digital dialogue. I remind you to like and share this episode with as many people as you can through YouTube. And I know it'll be posted also on the channel for the Institute. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful digital dialogue. And I look forward to learning and enjoying this AI revolution with you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining Digital Dialogue. Look for more episodes at noon Eastern Time on the first and third Tuesday of every month. Can't join the live session? You can watch the replay anytime on our YouTube channel.